Yo, Michael, what's good, bro? Welcome to another episode of the Web3 Experience. Today, I'm, blessed to be here with Michael K, someone I met through the space, through the Bored Ape community. Michael, just before we get into the episode, can you just describe your journey into tech and then into crypto and Web3, and then the position you have today with WalletCard?
Yeah, definitely. First thing I want to say is thank you again for hosting this stage for me and really putting together this content. And I love the story aspect behind a lot of these apps that we're seeing come up in the space. So yeah, my story is I've been in cybersecurity pretty much my whole life. I was the CEO of an IT company up in New York for about 8 years. And after exiting that company, I went full-time into Web3. I actually, a few years ago, didn't understand exactly what NFTs were. I kind of hated NFTs because I didn't understand what they were. I think a lot of people find themselves in that position because it's like fear of the unknown and you don't necessarily want to understand what it is because it doesn't matter to you.
And you see other people making money and you're like, no, I don't get it.
Well, yeah, that was like the first thing. It's like you see people making money and talking about something you have no idea about. And being in the IT space, being in cybersecurity, I couldn't wrap my head around the point of an NFT. So One day I went down that rabbit hole. One of my first NFTs was a land parcel in Decentraland. And from there, I was able to realize, hey, holding an NFT and waiting for the number to go up is one thing, but being able to monetize it and build on top of it, maybe even make it your own brand or part of a business model is a whole nother story. So a lot of people that come in, they're kind of throwing their money at everything. And then at the end of the day, they're stuck holding a bag of assets they themselves don't understand or like, and they can't sell. And then they look back and say, hey, this is a scam. I'm never touching it again. That's why I think education is so important in this space.
100%, bro. That's why I started the podcast too, is because, back in summer of 2021, people were just throwing money in a, fire dumpster, at anything, minting everything. And then I'm just sitting back because I was always a more thoughtful investor. I looked at it as looking at a company, looking at the founders, seeing how the community was built, how they operate, how the website is, certain things that, maybe some inherent value once it reveals or something. And then I packed my bags into them, like Bored Ape, minted my mutants, a bunch of them. I was really convicted in it. So I don't worry about all that stuff. But more people come in and they just want that. Obviously, we were lucky, and not everybody's as lucky to have those opportunities. So they want to find something, they get burnt, and then they blame the whole industry. It's like, there's certain flows to the same cyclical nature of, the stock market. You get into something, late, and then you're just like, I hate stocks. And it's the same flow,
Well, they were not taught in school a lot of the different ways on how to invest and how to make these decisions. That's one of the biggest problems. You're not going to be told something simple that I always tell people that are interested in investing, even if it's like a stock. I always ask them, do you have an iPhone? Are you going to buy the next one? Have you had an iPhone the entire time? Do you know other people are going to buy it too? Well, might as well invest into Apple, considering you constantly buy their product and you know that now you can own a piece of that company on something that works well. And just that piece of information really gets people thinking, and they're like, okay, that makes sense. Let me think about other products I'm using and potentially are interested in investing into. And again, everything that we say in this topic of discussion, not financial advice, right?
Definitely not financial advice. No, none of it. But yeah, dude, like you said, the way I try to explain it to traditional people is you're buying an NFT. Let's say there's 10,000 in the collection, Bored Apes. At the beginning, almost you could describe it as buying the Bored Ape was buying a fractional share of the whole company, right? And then the share of the stock goes up inherent to how they do and how the value is perceived by the community. And so many people just started, it turned into a big gambling industry. And
yes,
it just steered away from the supportive, community building aspect of what NFTs were created for. It's like being able to be a stockholder, but be able to connect with every other stockholder and be able to talk with them and exchange ideas and work on other things with them. It's so many different things they offer that the traditional investment atmosphere doesn't.
Yeah, it's also that, like you said, the community aspect and being able to build these relationships. I think one of the biggest things is gaining access to all these different events and also the networking that happens outside of those events. You're building, if you have a brand, if you have a product, something that you're actually building out, it's a win-win for everybody.
100%. Building a global community is so hard too. And it's for the click of a button, I could go to Dubai and show people and go hop in the Discord, say I have an ape, anybody wants to connect. And I instantly have a group of friends or people that could be my friends or colleagues or something in the future there. It's a global networking community. And I say that to every project founder or business owner. It's like, if you're looking to build a more digital presence, maybe look to explore some of these more globally based industries,
Yeah.
It's an exciting frontier. You know this.
Yes, sir. But yeah, I was able to get that. I actually went down the rabbit hole, learned about NFTs, got that first land parcel in Decentraland. I was able to scale that to over 50 deeds over time. So I was doing different NFT projects and different brands, different activations inside of the metaverse, and eventually bought my first Bored Ape. That was at 2 ETH. The floor price was around 1.5 ETH at the time. So it was pretty insane getting in so early. I bought it because I actually wanted to use it as my PFP. I liked the digital style, the art behind it. I had no idea it was going to turn into what it turned into, especially from a value standpoint. So it really changed up the game when it came to seeing what an NFT and a community can really bring to the table, especially when it comes to growing your own business, because I was able to use that PFP, use that NFT as my brand. I was able to market myself and then get into the positions that I'm in now. So it's really cool to be able to look and scale that.
Yeah. No, dude, it's amazing how Bored Ape gave everybody commercial IP rights, and then there's so many brands being built, and it just pushes their brand even further and helps other people have an instant community. Like, if I wanted to release a product, let's say a whiskey bottle with like my coda right here, like with the coda on it, like I instantly have a potential group of consumers that would buy my product just to support the overall brand. And that's something that's very, very unique. It's like guilds, and inside of video games and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. That's when you do anything, pretty much you could just jump in the Discord and let the other apes know, or your DM groups, and there's supports there, and that's what I love.
Yeah. And these capitulation phases, the volatility, I feel like when it just goes up and down, it goes up and down, and now we're at like 30 ETH floor, and I see a bunch of esports gamers jumping in, and people that may have been out of reach beforehand, like when the celebrities were pumping it up and they were pouring hella money into marketing with all these, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, everybody's buying apes, other agencies are, how it works. But now is at a more affordable place for people that see the inherent value, like Garger just tweeted yesterday, see you at the clubhouse to somebody on the team. You saw that?
No, I did not. I didn't see that.
He's like, enough Zoom talk, see you at the clubhouse. And he said, all right, I'll be back.
Yeah. I did.
So it's interesting, bro. A lot of people like me think it's going to be a yacht club, like an actual yacht club that's a globally, it's building globally. Like Miami's going to be the HQ of the Swamp House, the clubhouse, and then it expands.
I think if they pull it off in a way where they incorporate communities' assets into it, and they also incorporate some sort of ApeCoin distribution or revenue share, everyone's going to be trying to copy that formula, and that's what's been happening.
That's why they raised $500 million.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, I don't think they would have been able to get to this point if they weren't doing it in such a way where they kind of hit every facet of Web3. So starting off with, NFT and profile pictures, and then getting into the gaming area, then doing, ApeCoin, which is their currency, and then other side, which is their metaverse, and kind of rolling it out over time. A lot of projects, they get their roadmaps kind of twisted, and they're not able to deliver, and they're using people's money to pull off those roadmaps to begin with, instead of vice versa. They should have a product already that they're able to scale properly, but we'll see what happens in the next few years. I'm long on all this stuff. For me, it doesn't, monetary value at this point does not matter. I actually had someone, I'm not sure if you jumped on Threads yet. Did you grab? Yeah. So I had somebody comment, and they were like, you must be down bad. And I'm like, nah, I'm up good. I always try to bring positivity. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, I got it at 2 ETH. That's not what it's about. So, he said, you're down bad. And I'm like, nah, I'm up good. And he's like, well, you're actually down 90%. And like, I don't like to continue a conversation with somebody that doesn't understand. You could just look, like, my name is michaelk.eth. You could literally look it up on Etherscan and see what I paid for what I have, it's out there. So to be able to have to go back and forth with somebody, that's like the last thing I want to do. I want to work with everybody. I think more people coming into the space, the better. The last thing I'm going to do is like downplay somebody's investment, especially considering that I bought it because I liked what it was. I didn't buy it to make money off of it. So, changing up that sentiment, I think is going to be one of the key things that people have to realize, that this is not really all about money. It's also about the technology and what it could do for a lot of different industries. Taking token proof, for example, they're using on-chain data to kind of eliminate the need for ticketing companies holding your name, your credit card information, your physical address, your email. None of those variables exist in the world of a decentralized app like token proof. So to be able to see companies like that coming up and really changing up the game for that industry, I can't wait for the next decade, the next 2 decades.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. And like you said before, we don't look at the monetary value, but a lot of people do. And we've seen a lot of people get scammed for, their Bored Apes and lose a lot, So in terms of safety and security, that's your niche, like how can we help people destigmatize these negative notions around crypto and then promote a safer environment?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest hurdles to adoption is the scams that take place. And there's been billions of dollars lost over the past few years because of these scams, a lot of them related directly to phishing and social engineering. As you know, one of the worst things is logging onto Twitter and seeing somebody saying that they got their wallet drained or they just lost their ape. And that hurts me internally, even though I might not know that person, but seeing a message like that is very unfortunate. So one of the main reasons that WalletGuard was created, the co-founders, Ohm and Martin, about 1.5 years ago, they saw all these scams that were happening in the space. And they said, hey, we need to create a resource, not only a tool, but a resource for education and having people really understand what they're stepping into before they interact with it. And I actually happened to catch them on their first WalletGuard security space 1.5 years ago. Jumped in. They were talking about Web2 security, Web3 security. We aligned on a bunch of different things. They shot me a DM afterwards and they said, hey, we really like what you're saying. You kind of, are a perfect fit. We'd love to make you a brand ambassador. So I was the brand ambassador for WalletGuard for about 6 months. And then they gave me a full-time position at the beginning of this year, which, is like a dream come true. I was doing Web2 cybersecurity, and being able to transition that into a real job in Web3 was amazing. And to do it with people that actually have the same mindset, they have the same goals, it's a blessing to be able to be on the team.
And it shows you, man, LinkedIn, all these professional, job searching sites and third-party platforms. If you're vocal on Twitter and you interact with people, look at that. You just found a full-time position in a new industry just from being in a Twitter space and then aligning with somebody on a few levels. It's crazy. Yeah,
I tell people, don't be afraid. If you want to work with somebody, shoot them a DM. Don't be annoying with it. Just be straightforward with it. A lot of times people are just afraid to take a chance, even when they're submitting their resumes to a bunch of different places that they want to work. When I was running my IT business, one of the key things that really stood out to me was, we got hundreds of resumes a month, but if somebody that submitted that resume actually came into the store and said, hey, did you check my resume out? Or they gave us a phone call and said, hey, were you able to review my resume? That's putting you ahead of everybody else automatically. Me as a business owner, that's putting you ahead of everybody. Otherwise, I'm just assuming you're sending your resume out to a bunch of different places because either your parents told you to do it or you just have to get it. I want people that are hungry. And I know that a lot of other business owners are looking for those types of people. So if you really want to make something of yourself, if you want to work with a company or start your own business, whatever the case is, stop talking about it and just do it. Just literally do it. The resources are there, bro. You don't even have to go to school for 90% of shit nowadays. You could look it up online, look on YouTube and figure it out yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, just fucking do it, bro. We curse on
fucking do it. Otherwise, listen, you're going to be stuck in a group of people that are constantly talking about doing things. And then next year, they're still talking about doing things. You're not moving in any direction. You're actually stuck on a hamster wheel and you're keeping yourself in that environment. That's something that I never want to be caught in. And I actually told a bunch of different people throughout the years, hey, what's your idea and how are you planning on executing it? Manifest what you want, right? Manifest your future. And it's amazing to get a DM after talking to these people, whether it's a year later, a month later, a week later, saying, yo, I quit everything I'm doing. Now I'm focusing on this. Or like, I didn't like the environment I was in or where I was living my whole life. I decided to move and really execute. And I don't want to name names, but there's been a couple of prominent people in the space that have hit me in the DMs and thanked me for that. So it's just been amazing to just provide that information, things that I've dealt with in my life, and be able to give that to other apes and other NFT holders and say, hey, like, this is the alpha when it comes to executing.
Exactly. And this is exactly what I'm saying when there's a personability aspect of, investing in, it's a personability aspect in investing into the NFTs, into a stock, right? And then you're giving people life advice and changing people's lives and being able to connect with other like-minded investors and consumers or people in the community that you're in. It's crazy how, and even in these bear markets, I've made so many friends in this industry and people like through the Ape DAO and through just being in the space, going to conferences and things like that, that just putting yourself out there and showing a little effort, like you said, just showing up to one of those events in Miami on Meetup or something like that. Yeah. Little things, you never know who you run into. Like I met the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. I'm hosting with an educational curriculum with them. The lady that introduced me to them, I met her at a conference when she just needed a phone charger. And then all of a sudden, beep, she plugs me in with the Brooklyn, out in there educating them. And then now we're trying to educate the full, Brooklyn area and then the tri-state area, hopefully right after that. So it's just crazy how the world works,
Amazing, man. Little connections like that, little things that really don't seem like something big can really turn into big stuff. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, man. So, all right, so from the experience that you've gathered through Wallet Garden, how do you feel is the best way that we can better educate the public on tech innovations and emerging tech like Web3?
Yeah, so going back to it, I think when people come into the space, everybody's really shooting in the dark. There's no like direct answer to get things. And that's why we take education first and foremost in Wallet Guard. Separate from the browser extension and all the tooling, the first thing that we want to talk about is education. And that education being your Web2 security. So a lot of people don't even consider security when they're jumping into Web3, and we're expecting them to self-custody. We're expecting them to be their own banks, let alone they don't even know their own passwords. They all
have the same password across everything.
It's scary stuff, man. Like
really?
If you're using the same password across everything, please, for the love of God, get a password manager and let that automatically randomize strong, unique passwords for all of your accounts. Literally take a day to yourself, sit down, think of all the accounts you've ever created over time, purge them if you're not using them, and put them in the password manager as a randomly generated, unique, strong password so that you don't have to deal with the first layer of security, which is worrying about your password getting compromised. So, yeah, that's like the biggest piece of alpha that I could give. All right. So yeah, one of the first biggest pieces of alpha I could give is to focus on getting your Web2 security together first before you even consider jumping into Web3. Because on Web2, everyone's clicking yes, I accept, allow, continue on whatever devices they're using, and they think it's okay. When 90% of the time, you don't even have to hit yes in order to use the app, right? You're willingly giving away your data and information because you just don't want to read a sentence. That's scary. You do that in Web3, you're finished. You're not coming back. You're not saying, oh yeah, I'm calling up my credit card company. I did something by accident. Give me the money back. There's no phone number for Ethereum. There's no phone number for Bitcoin. It's not going to happen. So to be able to realize our mistakes in Web2 is super important. And to be able to have that set up the right way before you even jump into Web3 is what we're talking about in a lot of Twitter spaces, what we're talking about in a lot of educational content. And I think that's what's really missing is that prerequisite stuff before you can actually enjoy using this technology.
100%, bro. Like you said, I tell my dad, he asked me for a password for something that we share, and I tell him and he's like, fuck, man, why so long? Why so complicated? I'm like, you have no idea. Like all your passwords are similar or whatever. And like, these are the types of people, the mentalities that we have to try to, alter a little, because my friend got hacked for a mutant and like over $70K in assets for a SIM swap for a Google Cloud. He was on MetaMask on his phone, had his password, everything was stored in the cloud. Somebody compromised his SIM card swap or whatever. I even saw that AT&T, T-Mobile, like somebody can can bribe the people working for the carrier services to have access to a SIM swap on your phone. So it's scary to think like how many layers of protection you have to have, let alone cold storage wallets.
And that's a great moment to mention that nothing is 100% secure. So no matter how many firewalls you have, antiviruses, you're using, whatever extensions, Wallet Guard, whatever the case is, you still have to stay vigilant and keep your eyes open, because a lot of times the variable of you being compromised might be something that's not in your control, especially when it comes to a SIM swap. You're relying on your cell phone carrier to not believe somebody calling and claiming to be you. That's a scary thought, right? Mm-hmm. So at least have some prerequisites like setting up a PIN on your account, setting up a lock on your account, letting them know that you were never going to transfer your number to another account unless you physically go somewhere, or whatever the case, whatever the variables for that cell service are. I know Verizon's a little more tighter than T-Mobile when it comes to this. I know a lot of SIM swaps actually end up happening on T-Mobile's end because the variable is the human being behind the phone. And if they're able to be socially engineered and you don't have additional layers of security on your account, there's a big chance you're going to get SIM swapped. And that leads me to the second layer of security when it comes to your own accounts. Separate from having strong, unique passwords, the second layer is two-factor authentication, and making sure that that two-factor authentication is not text-based. It's not SMS-based. That's how people are getting SIM swapped. They're leaving the default two-factor as their phone number. So if I'm able to call your carrier and convince them to port your phone number to my account, now I am you when I'm on the internet. Now I can reset all of your passwords for all your accounts by using your own phone number. Think about that. Think like to sit back and say to yourself, let me take one day. Let me audit my accounts. Let me manage my passwords in something that I never forget them again. And they're also unique and secure. And let me add an additional layer of security on top of that, which is not weak like text messages, but using software or hardware authentication, which I'm sure you've heard of: Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. Authy is my go-to. That's also open source and free. So having a software authenticator or a hardware authenticator like a YubiKey, these are like little flash drives. They look like you actually have to physically perform an action to let someone in your account. Just having those two layers of security, which is strong, unique passwords and two-factor authentication that's not phone-based, you're 99% ahead of everybody else's security when it comes to managing your own accounts and making sure that you're not easily compromised.
Yeah, 100%. So before people get to that phase, let's talk about the social engineering part. How can people identify and avoid scams in the crypto space? Like, what are some warning signs to look out for and some experiences that maybe people can learn from you that you've dealt with?
Definitely. There's a lot of red flags. The first red flag is if you're feeling some type of way when you see a message like do this now or claim now, something that's telling you that you need to do this immediately. The first thing that I can tell you is that you never want to be the first mover. You might miss out on something, but you might lose. You might also miss out on the fact of losing everything, right? So to be able to say to yourself, hey, let me do some research on this project or who's posting this is the first layer of defense. And being able to look at, let's say, their Twitter page, let's say they have 100,000 followers, but nobody is following them, but you follow real accounts, major red flag. If you see that they have their comments turned off on their posts because they don't want people to know that other people are claiming it's a scam, that's a big red flag. Being able to jump into their Discord and seeing maybe on the left-hand side, their user count is 50,000 people, but in the actual general chat, no one's talking or saying anything, and there's only 20 accounts on the right-hand sidebar, massive red flag. So these are things that you can identify just by simply taking a second before you FOMO in to say to yourself, hey, they got tons of followers, but no one I know is following them. They have comments turned off. Why would that be? They are an account created in 2009, but they only have 3 tweets. I mean, these are all scenarios where you can clearly say to yourself, this is not real. This is something that I should avoid. And
we can see it clearly, though. That's the thing, is that we have been on Twitter, in Discord, on these social engineering based, like it's viable for social engineers through Twitter. Like the usernames right now, I saw something, they got to take away the name and just have the username. And I 100% agree with that. Like
Yeah.
Jack Butcher has 100 fake Jack Butchers that emulate everything that he does. And, you know, I'll have family and friends that'll send me straight phishing links, like an email that they got or something that they saw. They're like, what do you think about this? I'm like, what do I think about that? I hope you did not touch that.
Right.
And we know in an account or a post what it looks like at this point, you know?
Right. A lot of it does come back down to the Web2 security education. I mean, there's still people that get compromised by these random phone calls claiming to be Microsoft or Apple or FedEx or Amazon or the IRS or the government. Like, think about this scenario. Our parents, when we were growing up, told us not to talk to strangers, right? That's something that everyone's parents said to them. How is it that a lot of our parents are now believing a complete stranger over the phone that they've never met more than you? What happened to not talking to strangers, right? Like, take that concept and really apply it to your digital lifestyle. The point of all of these devices is to be comfortable using them. If you're holding your phone in your hand and you're angry every day of all the notifications and pop-ups and phone calls and voicemails and random texts, you're not using it correctly. The point of it is to understand what you're holding in your hand, where all the apps you're not using are uninstalled. So when a new app gets on there, you know exactly what you're looking at. Or, for example, not hitting subscribe and set up my newsletter to everything you sign up for so that you don't have 10,000 unread emails. You actually have emails that you need to take care of on a daily basis, and you enjoy flying through them because you're getting shit done. Yeah. I take my technology and I use it to make my life easier, to make things automated, to make them paperless, to make it so that I can execute quicker, whether it's using a digital calendar, whether it's using a digital notes app, and also having the security behind it. Rather than saying to myself, I hate technology. No, you just don't want to learn about setting it up the right way. That's all it is. I think there's going to be a separation of people as time goes on, further than it is now. There's going to be people that are understanding of the devices that we're using every day and constantly keeping up with it. And then there's going to be people that are saying, I'm not tech savvy. And I think when it comes down to it, if you're saying you're not tech savvy, you're just not willing to learn a little bit, right? And that's unfortunate, because these devices can really change your life if they're used the right way.
Yeah, exactly. You know, back in like in the early tech days, you know, Microsoft Excel was the first thing that I looked at, and I'm like, holy shit, this could either be literally a blank thing with boxes everywhere, or you could be the most expert accountant or mathematician ever if you knew how to use it. And there's so many different things that you could do that it's overwhelming, and it's like most people don't learn anything about it, right? Yeah. And I feel like that translates to a lot of these new technologies that are created to make our lives completely more efficient and effortless. And we've completely been distracted by all, like you're saying, notifications, noise, extra emails, spam, bullshit that you allow it, right? And you have the option to delete and clear and have a clean slate and a device that helps everything become streamlined, right?
Yeah, correct. And it does get to a point where if you're not paying attention, you get to the point where you hate the device, and there's so many things you just don't even want to deal with it, and you just don't care anymore. But, you know, taking that day, sitting down, auditing yourself, auditing your device, removing things you're not using. One of the big examples that I constantly refer to, which is like a layman example, is you walk into your house, you know what you own, right? You know all the furniture that's in your house. So if you walk into that same house one day and there's a brand new couch in the living room, are you going to just continue living in the house, or are you going to question how it got there? So keeping your digital lifestyle the same way, which is you know exactly where things are, they're organized in folders, you understand where to find something if you're looking for it, you'll know when something is off, and then you'll be able to diagnose it further. So setting up your physical lifestyle the same way you would your digital lifestyle, vice versa, you could be a lot more productive, and you could really be understanding of the device that you're using every single day of your life.
100%. So let's talk about, let's say I'm somebody that just got hacked. I just got my thing, everything just got liquidated, all my assets gone. What do I do next? How do you see the role of regulators helping play out in consumer protection and trust to build in crypto? And if there is no consumer protection by regulators or third parties, what do I do?
Well, to be practical and to also kind of bring it to the level of what we're all expecting, a lot of us want everything to be decentralized. We're like decentralized maxis, right? We don't want any middlemen. We don't want anyone to be able to control whatever it is. But to be honest with you, in order for mass adoption to occur, there is going to be elements of centralization. It's just a matter of how heavily they can affect what our decisions are. And, there's going to be people out there that don't want to manage their own seed phrases. They don't want to manage their own private keys. And you're going to need custodial services or multi-factor or multi-sigs in order to handle that. And as time goes on, this technology will get better. But when it comes down to a concept of what happens when you're compromised, I think one of the first things that people do is they start to panic. And obviously, you're going to be panicking and you're going to be wondering what just happened. But there's a reason Etherscan exists. There's a reason there's the ability to flag an NFT or to be able to create a police report, especially if that transaction is tied to something that happened on a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance. And you could go down that line of authority in order to find a KYC wallet, something that you can identify the attacker with. So there are multiple ways, but we don't want to get there to begin with. We don't want you to get compromised to start with. So to be able to provide an education layer as well as a tooling layer, which is what we're doing with WalletGuard, I think is crucial. It's like the missing layer between Web 2 and Web 3, because outside of signatures and gas fees and all these other things, all these different terminologies, Web 3 needs to be eventually as easy to use as an ATM machine. We need people to come up to it and not worry about the inner workings, the software, the hardware. We just need it to work. So that's why we're super happy to also be partnered officially with MetaMask. WalletGuard will actually be a security toggle, a snap inside of MetaMask by the end of Q3 of this year. So if MetaMask, So if MetaMask is your wallet of choice, you don't need WalletGuard as a separate extension. It's going to be inside of WalletGuard, inside of MetaMask itself.
Bro, congrats, dude. That's huge. For anybody that knows, like most people that come into Web3 have MetaMask. That's their wallet. Yeah. So for you guys to be that layer of security that they needed, because like you're saying, we needed to get to a point, and Coinbase made that easy for crypto, which is why we saw billions of dollars come in. They made buying crypto with a few clicks very, very easy, and that helps a lot of people jump in. But when you're trading an NFT, bro, you see the hash, you see, everything, you see all the inner workings of the transaction. And that's like the same to say, if I was to spend something on my credit card, do I want to see all the back end inner workings and filings that goes through that? No, it's a nightmare. However, all I know is that I tap and I pay. Whatever happens on the back end happens. And that's where we need to be.
Correct. And being able to provide it in a human readable format is one of the most important things. So with WalletGuard, we've actually just surpassed, we're on our way to 20,000 users. We just surpassed 18,000 users, about 4,000 users in the past month alone. So once people are realizing that we're not a wallet, we're not an NFT, we're not a token, we don't even require you to connect your wallet or sign a signature, but we're literally just providing information on what's about to happen before it happens in your wallet of choice, it's a no-brainer to have it, because it's literally able to tell you this is about to leave your wallet. This is what's coming into your wallet. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at something that's supposedly a free mint, we can literally identify it's a wallet drainer, not something that you would want to interact with. These are elements of security that have been missing up until this point. So we're super happy that MetaMask and Consensus have put, the backing behind us in order to kind of help assist with building this security layer directly in MetaMask itself.
It's amazing, man. You know how much liquidity, extractive liquidity you guys would have saved, in the past year and a half, like just from people that wouldn't have minted a bunch of shit or wouldn't have meant.
I'll tell you this much, the application itself, we've scaled to this point, almost 20,000 users. We're also open source, FYI. So I think one of the most important things is building trust and transparency. Yep. And being open source was, we did that a few months ago, really shot the user count upwards, because putting all our cards out on the table and showing users, there's no way we could interface with your wallet. There's no way we're data mining you or taking any actions in other extensions or your wallet itself. We're just an action that happens before you confirm it in your wallet of choice. That's something that really changed the landscape, because you could look through our code. Our code's all on GitHub, and our development pipeline is actually directly through GitHub. So whenever we make a change to our code base, it posts to GitHub first, then gets pushed to the Chrome store. So our users know they're always looking at the latest reference as to what they have installed in our extension, which is a little different than a lot of other extensions that claim to be open source, but haven't updated their repos in months. We're building trust is hard to begin with. Building trust in Web3 is harder, and building trust as a security company in Web3 is the hardest, because a lot of times people don't even know that security in Web3 exists. So really doing a podcast with you, for example, is amazing, because it's bringing attention to what we're doing. And I can't thank you enough again for giving me the stage to be able to talk about this.
Likewise, bro. We're going to be traveling it and speaking and teaching people. Trust me. I manifested it. I saw it.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So like you said, trust and transparency. Let's say I'm a founder, upcoming founder. From the perspective of a project founder, what are the key factors that contribute to building trust and transparency, building a community that supports what you're building in public, open source, let's say,
Yeah. I think being communicative, right? You want to be able to speak to your users, and you want to do that often. A lot of these projects, they end up talking a lot in the beginning, they fizzle out, and then you don't hear from them for months, and then the floor price tanks or whatever the case is. For us, it's a little different because we're not an NFT or a token. We're just a product. But being able to keep people up to date with security updates, security alerts, our Wallet Guard official page on Twitter, we have over 35,000 organic followers that we've built with almost no marketing spent. And that's saying a lot. It's content generation. It's also communicating with your users. So one of the first things that I would recommend, is communication. You want to stay actively communicated with your community. You don't want to have pretty much like a disappearing effect. Maybe 1 week you're there, 1 week you're not. You still want to stay engaged. And another thing that we love doing with a lot of communities is talking about security before somebody gets rugged, before somebody gets compromised. So we've worked with over 100 different communities. We've done a lot of different collaborations, and we highly recommend anybody that wants to work with us to hit us up, because we do all this for free, by the way. We do hosted spaces. We jump in and co-host your space, your community space with you. We talk about wallet safety with your users. We talk about Web2 security. It's not just a shill for Wallet Guard. We take the education layer first and foremost. And then if they're interested, they can see what Wallet Guard does and how it automatically handles a lot of that security. But providing the educational layer is super important, especially before someone in the community gets compromised or gets rugged.
100%. Communication is important. All right, let's talk about one last thing. If you're a founder, funds. How can you be transparent with and secure in the way that you handle the treasury, the money that you're bringing in? DAOs handling funds, voting, multi-sigs. Like, can you explain that process for people that want to think about handling money one day in this space in a transparent way with a global community?
Well, the thing with blockchain, of course, is that it is transparent by default, right? So you're able to see everything that's happening. A lot of these projects I've seen kind of later on try to pull something in the background, hoping nobody will notice, and then it's they get kind of called out for it. So as a project holder, I think one of the first things you want to do is set up your social channels in a secure manner. And what I mean by that is your Twitter account should have a strong, unique password with two-factor enabled, with SMS off, kind of getting as close to that 100% as possible, because a lot of Twitters get compromised. And when they do, people believe whatever it's posting, right? So you want to make sure to limit that variable as much as possible. Same with a Discord channel. If you are a project or a community that has a Discord, do an audit on the permission levels and who has access to what. So the admin account should be a cold account, meaning it's not something anyone's actually logged into, but it's something that has multi-factor, that has an account that is completely segregated from all the others, that doesn't give the same permission sets to other users in the Discord. So being able to do that out of the gate will definitely help when it comes to your users seeing that you care about their assets to the point where you're applying these security measures as a project founder yourself.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when it comes to managing community assets, definitely having a hardware-based and a multi-sig wallet is super important. Multi-sig requires multiple parties to confirm a transaction or an action before it actually goes through on chain. So being able to show your users that you are managing the account in a way that has multiple layers of security behind it puts a little more trust into that scenario. And then finally, the part of bringing wallet safety and education to your users out of the gate, like even mentioning something like make sure your wallet extensions are up to date. Putting that in like a tips or FAQs or onboarding process in your Discord or your Twitter channel, whatever the case is. Small tips like that go a very, very long way. And that's why we pride ourselves with working with these communities to give them this context on what to post and what to alert their users about so that they can in turn help gain the trust of their own users.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. Well, dude, I really appreciate all this information. I know a lot of people, if you're watching right now, like just know how important his perspective, Mike's perspective is in the space. Like for people that get hacked for hundreds of thousands of dollars, they come to Mike and ask him what to do. So it's like for you to be partnering with MetaMask, dude, I'm really, really psyched for building this and educating people more as we continue this journey through Web3, right? And it's Web 2.1, Web 2.3.
Yeah.
Like Web 3 is a pipe dream down the line. Like what you're saying, we're going to need so much centralized help to bridge into mainstream adoption. Now, this centralized help, I think just the more society evolves, the more it unravels to how centralized it is. And then down the road, once the decentralized technologies like token proof type apps come out to a point where they overtake some of these big industries and then viably push out the third parties to where we can kind of operate as global citizens without having to give everybody, authorization for what we do and cuts of everything and things like that. So we're early shit.
Yeah, we're so early that what you're talking about will take 20, 25, 30 years.
I know.
But that's the thing, bro. We're already in a space where we can help teach people about what's coming, right? I think that's what gives us the upper hand in this scenario, is that we're already here and we're trying to do this in such a way that is transparent, that isn't going to put us in a scenario where we are considered gatekeepers or are token gating things. That's not how we bring mass adoption. And that's why we believe in this free model with WalletGuard. The browser extension is free. It's open source. Our chat Web3 AI tooling is free. The Academy on our website for do your DYOR articles, it's all free. We do Twitter spaces almost every week that we record, that we talk about security. More than welcome for anybody to jump in and engage with us. This is something that is that's where the value is for us. It's providing this to help onboard the next 100 million people into crypto.
Definitely, bro. We've seen the CEO of BlackRock go from calling crypto a full sham bullshit to last week talking about Bitcoin being digital gold, and we're starting an ETF and we want $3 to $5 trillion in the market. It's like, what are we doing? Or 3 to 5 trillion in asset under management coming into this. If they put us a percentage of that into it's over. It's over. They would buy it out or the exchange.
Well, let's have a real conversation real quick about this before we end it.
Yeah, this is good.
There's, some people are looking at this situation with the ETFs and BlackRock coming in as a good thing.
Yeah.
But it should also not be so fluffed up with rainbows and unicorns. I think the reason why they are coming in is because they see an ability to be able to grab a stronghold that they will never let go of. So as a society, we should be waking up to what blockchain can do for us and also being able to control our own future. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in the same circle that we are in right now. And it's not going to benefit the people. It's going to benefit the corporations. It's going to benefit the people that currently hold our data hostage, that we are literally willingly giving away in order to use services for, which is very unfortunate. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Now, I just want people to know. I want people to know, like, try to open up your mind and see why BlackRock CEO has changed perspectives in such a short amount of time. Like, why do they want now all this money pouring in and this control and this heavily investment into the market? You know, the way I see it is, if I feel like they're going to use all the Silk Road assets that they've taken and then put that as a liquidity pool for something that they could just fund for all of their traditional and political investors. Well, and then
a lot of these assets were gained through illicit means, and to be able to use that against the people is one of the most unfortunate things that can happen.
How much have they seized? Do you know how much Bitcoin the U.S. government?
I don't know the exact number. I don't want to get misquoted on that, but I know it's.
All right, I'll pull it up. I'm not trying to put it. I'm gonna put it up in here and edit it in. But dude, it's crazy.
You know what's funny? Because this reminds me of a scenario that I always end up going through with people that are like very speculative of crypto and Bitcoin and all this stuff. They always say, "What is crypto backed by?" Right? And I don't want to answer their question with a question, but generally it's what is fiat backed by? And then it's absolutely nothing, right? So my answer to what is crypto backed by is it's backed by the concept that there's no human element behind the code that's publicly viewable that cannot be modified. Yeah. That's what it's backed by, like literally. So to be able to say to yourself, there is a system out there that is not only 100% public, but is also anonymous, you start to really like gets the gears turning and you're like, wait, how's that even possible? How does this work? And that's separate from talking about NFTs or true verification of assets or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That's when they start going down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. I mean, if gamers understood the new Ethereum update of how you can have an NFT that can own assets as an NFT, and then think about it in the future when you have a Fortnite character that has all of these rare assets, and by just selling that NFT, the buyer gets this full package, right? It could be a full company under that NFT if you wanted. The deed to a house. Like real estate is being tokenized. Like I'm working on doing something with that too, Low Alpha. But I want to show people the power of verification through a decentralized ledger, a distributed ledger technology, something that everybody can audit. Just like you said, if somebody's like, oh, you're down 98% on your ape or whatever, they're like, just dude, look up michaelk.eth. Look up my name on Etherscan, and you could see everything that I've done as a trader, and then you can gauge how you want to insult. You know?
The things that's scary is that the most people that are saying that don't even know what Etherscan is. So to be able to, say to yourself, like, when you're being told about an investment, let's say this is for the people that aren't even in crypto yet. If your friend is coming to you and saying, get this coin, it's amazing, I just got it, you should buy it. Ask them a simple question. What is Etherscan? If they don't know the core of a system that's literally showing information on blockchain, what it is, if they don't know what Etherscan is, don't believe a word that's coming out of their mouths. Especially if they're telling you to buy something, they don't even understand what they're buying, right? So that's why a lot of people got wrecked back in 2017, and everybody and their parents got into crypto, but then everyone got rugged and burned, and then they said, I'm never touching that again. That's a complete scam.
The same thing as a dot-com bubble. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I think it's a little different though, because the dot-com bubble heavily incorporated middlemen, which are the domain registrars, right? So they kind of had control of their own market at that point. So we're talking about a market that no single government, that no single human being can control. So when people say, is it a bubble? Is it not? I think it's to the point where education will cause it to not be what you think is going to cause it to fail, essentially. So yeah, we're getting there, bro. Like it's coming. The ball is starting to roll. It's not stopping.
Yeah. I just like the first thing I always tell people to try to sum it up is like you said, what is it backed by? And then after Nixon made the US dollar not backed by gold, it was just backed by the promises of the US government. And we know them to be completely corrupt at this point. And that is And then that's something that's scary because the U.S. is one of the most, if not the best place to live in the world, I think. And I've traveled to a lot of places. If you go to my country like Lebanon, man, our government is so corrupt in Lebanon that the currency has inflated over 99% in the past 5 years. It's gone from 2,500 to 1 USD valuation to up to 7K to 1. So it's like it came to a point where citizens couldn't take more than $100 out of their account from the bank in a week. And it's like, dude, you have no freedom. You have no freedom. They have no freedom. And this technology offers people a means of freedom. If Russia and Ukraine went to war, let's say Russia took over Ukraine and there's a lot of Ukrainian refugees who had money in that fiat currency that is now worth nothing. It's either very, very devalued by the point that when they exchange it in another currency, or it's completely gone. But if you had like something, a global currency, let's say, you could relocate and have the same life. That's not better.
Yeah. Even talking about the concept of the ability to have a bank account. Do you know how many people there are in the world that their society, their structure, their position of where they are, they don't even have access to have a bank account. They'll never be able to move out of their societal class in the environment that they're in. But then you take a statistic, for example, Africa. Africa has more access to internet. More than 90% of the population has more access to internet than they do clean water. You can Google this, right? You're talking about a resource that's essential to live, has less accessibility than internet. Now, with internet, you have the ability to create a wallet, to be your own asset manager, to be your own bank, to deal in a global currency within seconds with anyone across the world. Of course, banks and credit card companies and middlemen don't want that to happen, because then you don't need them as a middle layer. If you're able to bring the ability for people to globally perform commerce based on if they create music, they create art, they create assets in games, they want to create an initiative for nonprofits, whatever the case is, and you're eliminating all the middlemen, of course they're going to come and say, oh, that's a scam. You don't want to have anything to do with that. Stay exactly where you are. Don't think about it. Then it gets, the conversation is going to get more political, which I want to stay away from. But, when it comes down to it, we have the people that are controlling money right now have the ability to create it out of thin air. They have the ability to literally print it. And they're doing that on a daily, if not monthly, whatever the case is. They're doing it in a way where we're printing trillions of dollars while we're raising taxes at the same time. And you're telling people, hey, we're getting this money for free. Well, if it's for free, then just print the taxes. I mean, people are starting to wake up, right? And it's eventually going to happen. And people are going to say, wait a second, you could just print it out of thin air. And if it's free, then why am I paying you, right? Like, hello, what's going on? But yeah, that's a whole topic of discussion for...
Well, we could get into a whole discussion about what fiat and what money is and the valuation of, just how it just transformed from barter to where we're at today. It's like France went into Africa, created a currency for Africa and took all the resources and paid them in the currency that they fucking created. What are we talking about, bro? That's why they killed Gaddafi, because Gaddafi was teaming up with all the African nations to have a dollar that was actually backed by gold, because Libya was one of the most gold-rich countries in the world.
And they have the resources already. They have the resources.
And they would have been the most wealthy country immediately and the most viable currency. And the US dollar, the yuan, all of those would have crashed because they would have not been backed by anything. And this would have been the only one backed by gold. It's fucking crazy. That's why they killed them. It's crazy. It's crazy how they just used...
Very
and to wrap it up, it's funny to think how like a year and a half ago, every government was banning crypto and posting everything bad. And then they tried to dismantle it, bro. And then it kept pumping because it's a global initiative. It's not something like the people are waking up, like you're saying, and it's global. So now they're like, oh, actually, we can't stop it. So let's join it. And now they're filing ETFs and they're trying to have more congressmen pushing for Bitcoin and then this and that. It's like, it's very interesting to see the transition. But that's why us being in the industry, we can have these stories and explain it to people. So one day when they jump in, they'll realize, what happened initially.
Yeah, there's going to be people that are born over the next decade that will never have seen a physical dollar, right? That will never have seen something outside of a digital currency. And it could go two ways. We could go the route of people actually owning things and people having access to their own assets, or we could go the route where it's pretty much controlled and you don't necessarily own anything. I know what side I'm going to be on, but when it comes down to it, I wanted to make a statement on what you said before. When it came down to it, America is one of the greatest countries in the world. And I came from Armenia with my family with no money, no English, and we were able to make something of ourselves because of the opportunities that America, the country, gave us. The ability for you to create a business, to jump in the stock market, to make an LLC, whatever the case is, you have that ability in this country. And I think the problem right now is there's been a lot of people in the same positions for a very long amount of time. And these people are making millions of dollars under the table, which is not how this country should be managed. And I think that the core of the country still exists. The idea behind what it is still there, but things with who it's being represented by need to change. And I'm not focusing on a political party. I'm saying in general, everybody, everything needs to be revamped.
I know. And dude, we're passionate about this shit because my family came from Lebanon. You know, they went from Lebanon to Belize, and then Belize, you know, had to finagle to get a passport to come to the US. Yeah. And then I went to New York, established a business, a deli, a little small thing, came to Florida. You know, it's like, it's crazy to think of the opportunity that this country provides. And it's sad to see in the direction that it's going. It's really sad because all across the world, it's totally different. Totally different. But, you know, sorry, in Web3, we're trying to give everybody a little opportunity, right?
That's right. That's why Web3 is here. You have an option, you have an out, and I highly recommend looking into it if you haven't already. So yeah, that's a good way to wrap that up.
Mike, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. All right.
Greatly appreciate you. And just so everybody knows, my last statement here, walletguard.app is our official website. You can get access to the Academy, our browser extension, the Chat Web3 AI tooling. All of that's available on our website. Everything is free. And we're ready to help you understand what crypto, blockchain, NFTs, what it's all about. And we love user feedback. We've actually built out this app on user feedback. We love hearing from communities. We love working with communities. So shoot us a DM, shoot us an email. We're ready with open arms to help spread the information on crypto, blockchain, NFTs, and get people the right information to begin with. So thanks again so much for the space, and can't wait to see the video posted, bro.
Yeah, definitely.